Hello everyone. It is the 23rd of April 2024, late in the morning. Looks like it's going to be a nice day to be out here working on my project car. Had a little bit of work this morning, but the rest of the day I should be able to work on my car. So I decided, since I have much better access to some of the vacuum lines, since the brake booster is out right now, I'm going to go ahead and replace the ones that are coming out of the back side of the automatic temperature control box, because they don't fit real tight on these fittings right here, these little gray fittings that are the main ones behind the intake manifold. So I think I have enough hose that'll fit it. I have other hose that would fit, but not as tight as I would like. If I'm going to do this work, I want these to be good, tight fittings so they last for many years, and I don't have to do this again anytime soon. So I'm going to go ahead and work on that and finish hooking up the vacuum lines that I didn't reconnect yesterday when I was finished with the heater core stuff. I also got to put that little valve thing back on top of the heater core box that operates that flapper inside there. I need to put that back on. And after that, I might actually attack that left rear door today. I need to get that done sooner or later, and I should be able to get it done today if I get started early enough. So we'll see how it goes. I'll show you the vacuum lines I'm talking about here too real quick. So I'm talking about, so I just reminded myself why I kept cutting myself off as I lean over in my car, because this little remote was in my pocket, the front pouch on my sweats, and I was leaning on the car and stopping my video. So it's turned off now. So anyway, I was just pointing out the area that I'll be working with the vacuum lines behind the ATC box right there. I'm going to replace those hoses wherever they connect under here. I was also mentioning I don't have enough length here to take care of the part that comes from the reservoir, and that's okay though, because that's easy to get to if I decide I need to do that later, to do the other side of this T. So I'm gonna do that. The small one, I'm hoping this vacuum line here is not too small to replace the this one here, this white stripe hose. We'll find out. I think it'll be okay. So that's where I'm going to start. So now that I've started this, I'm glad I am, because I'm realizing as I pull these old hoses off how stiff and brittle they are and how loosely they were really fitting on the fittings. Not very tight at all, so definitely places where vacuum can be leaking. So this first little hose here, which controls the heater valve and one other valve, some kind of valve that goes under the dash, I'm not sure yet. So anyway, I connected that right here, and it fits beautifully, fits my little T there. And as I'm working with that, trying to move that T, the hose on the other side of that T just broke. It just snapped. It's so brittle right there. So that tells me, yep, I guess I'm glad I'm doing this. So this is the other end of that T. It goes somewhere over here. I'm going to have to find the other end of it. I don't know where it goes, but I want to replace that too now. I may be forced to take the splash shield off on this side to figure out where it goes. All right, this is where I'm at with the vacuum hose replacements. It's coming along. This hose here is the brittle one that broke, that little tiny hose that connects to the heater valve. This other part of it goes to the fresh air blend door, which is accessible, I found out by looking at my shop manual, from underneath the fender well. I was worried that I was going to have to get underneath the dash to get to the other end of this line. I was going to cheat and just insert, one of these connectors here, a straight connector, but when I clip this with these cutters here, it's just very brittle and hard, and I realized that's not going to work. That's not going to form a good seal. So I'm going to have to remove this wheel here and get that splash shield out of there. And since I'm going to be under the fender well anyway, I'm not going to cheat on these hoses either. They both go to the reservoir. I'm just going to replace them en masse. I don't have enough hose to do that, so I'm going to have to walk over to Napa. It's only about a 5-minute walk from my house, so I'm going to walk over there. I have the right size hose here. I just need some more of it, so I'm going to get some more of that. And I also have to get this specialized size here, which is for the door on top of the heater box, the blend door, this thing right here. I don't have any hose that fits this, not the same size. And I admire the Ford engineers, for making all these different size hoses, but it's kind of a pain too. On the other hand, the good thing about it, all three of those hoses that go behind the ATC box, the air temperature control, automatic temperature control box, they're 3 different sizes of hoses. And so, I mean, they're also marked, or they were marked with colored stripes to help with the diagramming and all that. But if you lose the coloring, which I no longer have because I just have plain black hose now, it doesn't really matter because they're different sizes. So you just put the one size on at that end and find whatever size fits at the other end. Uh, so in that regard, I admire the fact that they use different size hoses. I just wish I didn't have to go buy yet some more hose because I got all these spools here and none of them are the right size. I've got some fuel line that would work, 3/16. That's what this hose is, but I don't want to use fuel line in place of a vacuum line. It just doesn't seem right. It might work just fine, but something about that just doesn't feel right. So I'm just going to go get some more, and I'm just going to replace the rest of the lines here so that when I'm done, the nice thing about it is that every hose under here will then be brand new, and that should take care of any small vacuum leaks that might exist. And the only exception that I've made and I'm making is right here. This hose here, which goes inside the car, I believe it's used just, I don't know what it's used for. It may go directly to the windshield wiper switch since that's got a vacuum connection to it. It's definitely not the parking brake release because that hose is over here and I previously replaced that. And the other hoses for the air conditioning and heat are down there. So I think the only thing this is probably used for, and of course I could go in my shop manual and just look, is the vacuum control on the windshield wiper. So I think, and this feels still soft and pliable and all that. It already had a connector right here, so I just replaced this part of it. So I think I'm going to be okay with that, and it still feels good. It's far enough away from the engine heat. I don't think it got ruined. So that's where I'm at right now. I'm just going to walk over to Napa and get some of this hose and some of that hose over there to do the reservoir part and get to work underneath the fender well on the other side of the car. All right, making good progress. I had a very nice walk. It's a beautiful day. Walked over to Napa Auto Parts. Then I walked to a deli across the street, had lunch, and came back. I have more hose. Got all the hose I need now. Everything is almost done. I've got all the hoses right here are now new and connected. I just finished installing this. I noticed when I removed it earlier that this little keep here was not even in place. It was underneath the arm. The arm was just resting on top, not even locked in place. So I switched it around, so now it really is locked in place. So it's looking pretty good. I'm pretty pleased with how it's coming out. Everything is tight. I even loosened this little screw here. This is the adjustment, in case you didn't know, for the when you press the windshield washer button, it sends a little vacuum through here to activate the wipers, so they make a few passes and then stop. The vacuum slowly leaks out here. Mine was taking too long to stop, so I loosened the screw a little bit. I probably need to take it apart and clean it, but I just loosened the screw a turn. Hopefully that'll be enough to adjust it so it leaks out a little quicker, the vacuum. And that's not a continuous source of vacuum. There's only vacuum here when you push on the button at the windshield wiper switch. So that's why that's designed that way. It's kind of cool. But anyway, I'm just showing you all the lines. They're all connected. They're all new. All looks neat and tidy down here. Got it back in this little keeper here. It's kind of cool. Now there was electrical tape or vinyl tape around these hoses in several locations. I may or may not do that. I don't know that I really need to. I mean, it'll look a little neater and tighter, I suppose, if I do. But it was probably more for installation when the car was being built, just to keep the hoses together, neat and tidy and all that. But I'm not sure I need to because there's plenty of keeps. There's one right there. There's another one right here. Something else I'll do too is double check the operation of this valve. I'm sure it's going to work just fine. And then I've got these hoses here, plenty long, ready to go under the fender. So the next thing I have to do is lift this side up, take that wheel off, take the splash shield off. The splash shield is only for this tiny little hose here, for the fresh air vent that's under here. I have to replace it, and I'm really glad now that I decided to replace all the hoses, because as I was bending this one out of the way, it just snapped right off. It just broke. It's so brittle. So that was one of the reservoir hoses. So now I feel a whole lot better. So I'm hoping that in the end, when I'm all done and the car is running again, there will be no vacuum leaks. And the telltale sign will be, does my trunk release work when the engine's not running? If it does, I've solved all my vacuum leaks and I'll be very happy. I don't really care if the vacuum trunk release works when the engine's not running. That's not the point. The point is that it's a great indicator of whether vacuum is sealed and being kept in the reserve tanks like it's supposed to be. So anyway, moving right along. I'm going to hook up my vacuum gauge to this hose here at the other end and just pump it up and watch that thing operate. I'll show that real quick. I'm also going to do the same thing on the little hose that operates the heater valve as well as this fresh air door over here. I can't test it right now because this hose isn't hooked up yet. But I like to see things work while I'm in the middle of all this work project. After I tried to disconnect the hose that was hooked here at the other end at the firewall, I couldn't get it off. It's such a tight fit now on that plastic fitting. I had visions of breaking that plastic fitting, and that would have been a tragedy. Oh my gosh, that would have been horrible. So I decided, you know what, that's stupid. Just hook directly up to the valve, and you can watch it operate. You can see it as I pump it with some vacuum. It looks like it's sticking a little bit. Come on, baby. I think my connection is not tight enough here for the vacuum, so let me fix that first. All right, doing this again. I just pumped it up. I'm going to release it nice. You can see the door open. Oh, there's the race. There it is. There we go. Just pump it up. There we go. The one regret I have about this little press the wrong button. I meant to press the button on here to open it up again. There it goes. The one regret I have is that I didn't take some WD-40 and lubricate the moving parts that were inside the box there when I had the heater core out. That was kind of a mistake. I should have done that because it does tend to stick a little bit. I mean, it does operate. It does move. The vacuum is strong enough to force it to move, but that was a mistake I made, and there's nothing I can do about it now. So hopefully it'll always move. All right, here I am under the right front fender. Splash shield is kind of hanging down low. It's harder to get this thing out of here because of this motor and whatnot that's in the way. But I learned two things that I didn't know. It turns out that this vacuum line, which is the one I'm working on replacing, I didn't even have to take the splash shield off because there's enough slop built in it that I could have just pulled it all the way through to get to this connector right here and just replace it from that end back, because inside the fender, the hose is soft and pliable. It's been well protected from the elements. So I didn't even have to take this apart. I didn't know that. On the other hand, I also learned completely, I didn't remember this at all, but apparently, unless I'm mistaken, there was supposed to have been a clamp right here connecting the this hose to the windshield washer pump, I think, or maybe it was this end that was on. I don't know, but since it came off kind of loose, I think I'm going to go ahead and use that clamp and attach it to the windshield washer pump since I have it off again. So anyway, moving along, and here's the reservoir, of course. Looks like I could get to the one hose pretty easily, but the other hose is hidden back here. So unfortunately, I might be able to get it off. I don't know. I kind of doubt it, so I'll probably have to take the mounting bolts loose to get that thing out of there, and that's okay. The other thing I just noticed too about this connector is it's actually brass or some kind of metal. It's not plastic, which means it's designed to be there permanently. It's not going to crack or break, so I feel pretty good about hooking my new hose right here and leaving the rest of it in place. And of course, I'll use my vacuum pump to pump on this too to listen to hear, hopefully hear some movement of a door, back the fresh air door, before I put all that back together. All right, I did apply vacuum to the line, and I did hear movement of some kind of door. I heard some kind of news. It was really quiet, so I didn't see any point in letting you try to listen to it. So I've got that hooked up now, so that line is now taken care of. I guess I decided that I just kind of flipped myself out. I think this is actually the end that hooks to the windshield washer bag, and it just got flipped around as I was taking the hose out, and that's all. So one thing I did notice, I think there's supposed to be a connection right here and here for this this blower motor, and there's nothing there. This is open. I don't know if there's supposed to be a baffles there or something. That I don't know. I'm pretty sure that's supposed to be connected together right there. So I'm going to go look at my shop manual real quick and see if I can figure out what's going on there. And if that's actually just supposed to be a hose connection that's not there, I'm just going to have to fashion a hose connection. I didn't notice that the last time I had this splash shield off, so I'm going to go look at my shop manual real quick. All right, I just went on my computer, did some quick researching, and found that, Yes, indeed. There is supposed to be a hose there, 90-degree elbow that goes right there and connects those 2 points. So I don't know what the purpose of it is, but I know it needs to be there. Like I said, I'm surprised I missed that the last time I had the fender splash shield out of here, but I missed it. So I'm going to fix it now. I'm just going to see if I can find some scraps of heater hose or something that I can get to fit on there, just to do for now. And by the way, I didn't find this on YouTube. I found it on lincolnforum.net. It's going to be on YouTube now once I get this fixed. All right, here's where I'm at with this bypass hose. I don't know. I just don't think things clearly sometimes through all the way. I measured this nipple here. It's 7/8. I didn't measure this one. I just made the assumption that both ends would be the same. They're not. This is like a 3/4. That's a 7/8. So I went and bought some 7/8 hose, not knowing that I needed different sizes on both ends. And of course, with such a small space, it just kinks when you try to bend it at 90 degrees. I know they make these little spring things you can put on the outside of these hoses to keep it from kinking, force it to form, but it doesn't do any good anyway. I'd have to figure out a way to adapt the 7/8 hose down to 3/4 or something, and that just looks like a lot of work for nothing. So I call Lincoln Land. They're going to see if they have a good used one that they can send me. So I'm just going to not worry about that part right now and finish up with these vacuum lines. So now I'm going to remove this reservoir and hook my new hoses up to that. So there's my new hoses attached to my reservoir. I have no idea which hose went where because, well, it shouldn't really matter. It's just 2 halves of the same reservoir, 2 separate reservoirs welded together to form 2 separate reservoirs anyway. So I don't think it matters which hose goes to which one. It better not, because I had no way of knowing, really. Didn't pay attention. Doesn't really matter, I'm pretty sure. And I used my little clamps here. I had just the right length of hose, too. I lucked out there. Just the right length. Didn't have to cut it. Wasn't too short. So now I'm just going to remount that back up there where it goes and see what the next step is. All right, now that I'm completely done with the vacuum lines, I'm very pleased with how that all came out. It took quite a bit more time than I thought it would, but then these things always do, don't they? I'm going to switch gears now. I've still got some daylight left. I still have energy, and it's a beautiful day, so I'm going to keep working. First thing I'm going to do is a simple little task. I'm going to replace this cross-threaded nut, square nut that's inside this holder with a new one, and then stick it in the right here in this hole in the firewall for the splash shield that will eventually be remounted in there. So that hopefully will go smoothly. I also ordered a new set of valve cover gaskets. This one is still leaking on the driver's side, so I'm just going to take it off, put a whole new gasket on. This time I'm going to use plenty of this ultra gray gasket maker stuff. Put plenty on there. I don't want that leaking oil like it is right now. And lastly, I also ordered and received this 1/2-inch drive universal joint 11/16. I need this to properly tighten the exhaust pipe on this side after I get the steering gear back in place. I noticed that the nut wasn't even as tight as it should have been when I got it off, which is probably a good thing because I might have not have been able to get it off as easily as I did. But that also tells me that could also be a source of exhaust gas leaking out. I still don't think that's what my ticking noise is that I'm hearing very lightly. I still think that's exhaust manifold, but anyway. So I'm going to start with this and do this, and then I'll probably wrap it up for the day. Alright, just wanted to show my little square nut. The new one is in place. Where is it? Oh boy, you can't even see it. It's kind of right there. Hopefully my camera saw it there. It's good. I've removed the valve cover on this side, the leaking one, and it's definitely leaking down here. You can see how wet it was and everything on that corner. But what I discovered also was a lot of the oil is actually seeping out through the holes right here. So I did put a layer of sealant on the other side of the gasket. That was mainly just to hold it in place. But apparently I should have also put a nice bead on both sides, especially around these holes, to seal that up. So I'm going to make sure I do that this time. I find it interesting, though, that the other side is not leaking at all, as far as I can tell. But this side definitely is. So I'm going to discard that old gasket, clean it up, and use this sealer on both sides of my new gasket, and then reinstall. Do you guys remember when you could get rubber valve cover gaskets for these cars? Oh, I miss those days. Those things were so easy to remove. You could literally just pull and remove it all in one piece, no residue left behind, and they did a great job of sealing to boot. These stupid quart gaskets, this is what you get. Pieces, and this gasket isn't even that old. I barely put, I don't think I've even put 50 miles on my car. And there I got a mess, so now I gotta go clean all this residue up before I can even think about putting a new gasket on. Oh, I miss those days. If anybody knows a source for rubber valve cover gaskets for these cars, man, I'd love to hear about it. So this is what I had to resort to get this thing cleaned up. I had to use my feet to hold it so I could use both my hands to clean around up here. Took quite a bit of effort, but as you can see, I'm almost done now. So glad I got this rotary attachment to the grill, so that makes it possible. Anyway, I'm almost there. My lapel mics ran out of power, so I'm back to my AirPods for a few minutes till they charge back up. Just wanted to illustrate that I finally got most, if not all, the residue off. I also took this inside and washed this in my kitchen sink with Dawn dish detergent and hot water, since that's a degreaser and I don't have a parts cleaner anymore, since I got rid of all the liquid, and it's just nice and clean. So anyway, this came out real good. I just dried it with some paper towels, and I'd say it's ready for gasket installation and lots of sealer, and get this back on the car. All right, you can see I smeared this stuff on pretty liberally. Both sides of the gasket have a nice thick layer of this gray RTV sealant. I don't want any leaks. I made sure I got it all around the bolt holes on both sides of the gasket. No excuses. My only concern now is I gotta get it in there without smearing too much of that material or any of it on the rocker arms or anything. So let me get ready for that. All right, I have just installed the valve cover. The directions on that form of gasket stuff say just snug it up enough till the material starts to squeeze out, but not all the way, and then let it dry for an hour, and then finish tightening it down. So I'll give it an hour from now. I don't even know what time it is, but I'll find out in a second. And then finish tightening it up for the night, and I think that's probably going to do it for today. It was a real good day. I'll wrap it up in a little while. All right, this is my wrap-up segment. It was a good day. I spent most of the day working on my car, which is always a lot of fun, especially in such a pretty day today. I really enjoyed the day. The main thing I accomplished was getting all those vacuum lines replaced under the hood. I'm pretty proud of that. I don't think I've ever actually done that before in any of these old Lincolns that I've ever had. Never really felt the need, but on this one I definitely needed to. I guess after 57 years, those hoses just aren't going to be any good, and they weren't. So I'm glad I got that done. Never did hear back from Lincoln Land about that bypass hose or that connecting hose on the blower motor. I hope they had it. They said they would call me if they didn't have it, but they also said they would send me an invoice when they found it and shipped it. So either they're still looking, or I don't know what, but I'm hoping they have it because I'd like to get that back together on the other side of the car. Oh, and I did bolt down that valve cover with the final torque. So I do not expect any oil leaks at all from that area anymore. I guess the lesson I'm learning from there is even though I don't like using sealant, it's necessary, especially again on an older car and whatnot. So I use that word whatnot a lot. I noticed that when I was reviewing my my videos. So I'll need to work on trying to not use that phrase so much. Sorry about that. Anyway, it was a good day. Have a good evening.